All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 357 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Smitty at Smitty Sports Machine. Excellent panel we had earlier where we talked about the Atlanta Falcons secondary. He was there also, Flying High Podcast. I really appreciate the time. We had a really good discussion about the Atlanta Falcons secondary and the team in general. So if you want to check that out, if you haven't already, the link will be down in the description. Take time to check that out. I think it was a really good discussion. With that being said, we're going to expound upon that. We're going to talk about safety Richie Grant today. So it was an article, once again, at AtlantaFalcons.com by Scott Bair, who does great work. I'm going to give you my commentary and my thoughts and opinions on the article, and not only that, with Richie Grant as well. And so we're going to get into that. If this is your first time here, welcome. You can subscribe if you like. Hit the like button, share this commentary, let people know what they're doing over here, because if this is your first time here, I think you're going to like what you see over here. If not, give me some feedback and let me know. I'm also on YouTube and Rumble. I can be found on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. All the links are down in the description as far as watching every avenue and donating if you would like. So let's go ahead and get into this. Richie Grant is on the right track, but I think he is, and I'm going to talk about that with the article that I have up front. That's also going to be down in the description. And a lot of people would say that he had a down year, he needs to step up, but we're going to talk about that in full force. But really, I want to get these guys out the way. Anderson, Anderson and Malone, the two rookie linebackers, they just signed their deals, so that's going to be awesome. It's going to be great to see those guys actually, being in Falcon uniforms and playing. It's official that those guys are signed. They signed yesterday or whatever the case may be. And also, AJ Terrell and Kyle Pitts are they're in the top 25 that's under 25 in the NFL. So congratulations to all four of these guys. Two signing their contracts, two other guys also top 25 that's under the age of 25 in the NFL. I think the future is bright for our Falcons. We've got a lot of young guys that are talented, a lot of young guys that can produce, a lot of young guys who are ready and hungry to play. And these four guys on the screen are definitely going to show us how well they can produce. Two of them already showed, and there's no doubt in my mind these other two guys are going to be ready to go. So congratulations to these four guys, and let's go. Richie Grant. Once again, Arthur Smith talks about Richie Grant, and we discuss the long-term vision for him, because Arthur Smith sat down with Scott Bair for an interview. And, Arthur Smith has done very good job on these interviews. These articles have been great. I know there was one that he's done that was a while back that we discussed where he did an excellent interview evaluating his entire team. And one of the best interviews and articles I've read in a long time. But we're going to skim through this. We're not going to go too much into this article. We're not going to read it for line like we did in other ones. But this one here is basically talking about Richie Grant and coming along in the year two. Basically, he was picked number 40 overall last year out of Central Florida. A lot of people thought he should have stepped in right away and taken a veteran's job and played every snap. Now, you would think that that's the case for anybody who comes in, because now it's a situation where people want to see rookies come in and impact right away because it's a win-now league. A lot of people don't think that anymore, but it's not necessarily, for most positions, it's not necessarily a situation where you come in right away. For most positions in the NFL, it's just a perception now because you've seen a few rookies come in and step in right away. I mean, you're just going to have some rookies that's going to have growing pains. I mean, that's just what it is. And I feel like that's basically what Richard Grant had, because, a lot of people don't understand that he came in from Central Florida with a totally different defensive scheme. It's a lot of things he had to learn. It doesn't mean that he was it doesn't mean that he was a bad pick or whatever. He had, over 600, snaps. He played for over 600 snaps. He actually was able to contribute at times where he needed to be. I mean, there are just sometimes you just don't, live up to fan expectations, but he's probably right in line with what the coaches wanted to do. And, that's basically how things were going to be. Coach Arthur Smith said that right here. He said, we knew that in year one, he would be in a new scheme that was completely different from what he did in Central Florida. We had 2 veterans here for the short term with Eric Harris and Deron Harmon, but Richie still had an impact even though he wasn't an every down safety. Well, if one of those guys got hurt, he had to go. Jalen Hawkins also had good development, which is another guy that you need to look out for as well. But Richie Grant was a big contributor last year. He got his feet wet, helped us on 4th down. He played over 600 snaps for us. So, that's what I'm saying. He played a good bit, for a rookie. So, that's what you want to do. And that's one thing that Arthur Smith has been saying for a long time. You want to bring rookies in and bring them in and build them up. And that's one of the first lines that I remember him saying when he first got to Atlanta. And I think that's exactly what he's doing with Richie Grant. He found a way to get on special teams and do very well. He pretty much was on every return team, block and coverage unit. He played as reserve safety. That's something that most, rookies don't play as a reserve safety. He stepped in and played in the slot, especially when Isaiah Oliver was down. So he done a lot. And to be honest with you, I think he did his job very well. I think he did it perfectly. I think a lot of people think he didn't do as well as he was supposed to because of the perception of him coming in right away. But you also have to understand, and it's not necessarily a knock, but the game is a lot faster when you're in the NFL. And him playing at Central Florida, which is a pretty good school, you also have to understand Central Florida is still a group of 5 school. It does take a little bit of extra development when you come from a group of 5 to go straight to the NFL. Hell, it takes a lot of development when you come from a Power 5 school to come up into the NFL. So for him coming to a group of 5 school and contributing the way he did and play that many snaps and played that much on special teams, I think that he done a phenomenal job considering. Did he do a phenomenal job based on what we thought was going to happen? No, because I was one of the guys that thought that he was going to play right away. But after really looking back and evaluating, Richie Grant didn't do a bad job. I just think he didn't do what we thought he was going to do. And, there's a difference between the two. The Falcons were deep enough at safety that Grant wasn't forced to perfect the scheme by ending training camp and get thrust into action. His development was a slow burn, which raised eyebrows by some fans and put him in somewhat under the media microscope. Grant was always candid and forthright in his self-assessments through his outlook on always brimming with optimism. That matches on how the team feels about him. Expectations has evolved as he entered the second offseason program with OTA starting next week. Yeah, year 2 is always that year. AJ Terrell had a pretty good rookie season, but you also seen it when it was like year 2, year 3. You saw him like go from here and went straight up. You know what I mean? So you have to learn what you're trying to do before you actually get your feet out there and actually do it. Arthur Smith said this is the objective for Richard right now. Now he has to go and earn it. He has to be an every down starter at safety. Now listen to this. This is really important because now they're looking for him to be a starter now. He has to go earn it. His earn it is to be an every down starter at safety. Smith also said that doesn't mean that he had a bad rookie year. Richie had an impact and he helped us. He developed the right way. That was a part of the strategy last year when we took him. We didn't envision him as a day one starter. We envisioned him to become a starter and an impact player. So, with that being said, Richie Grant is absolutely on the right track. He's doing coming along right exactly like Arthur Smith wanted him to be. I don't see a problem with this. I think this is a perfect situation for Richie Grant. You brought some veterans in. He learned behind the veterans. He was able to do other things on the field that when available, and he did a pretty good job on them. You rarely hear things about Richie Grant actually messing up or like really, totally not getting things right. Now, was it things that, he just didn't get everything together? Yeah. But there are some times that he maybe didn't get things all the way, but I don't think it was a situation he messed up because he just couldn't do it. It was just things because he didn't know. So you learn as you go. Smith also says that's just a small example of a guy we took where we had a short-term plan where no injuries that expeded the process and a longer-term plan that continued to be heading into his second year. This is a very good quote right here, because this is a good example of what's going on with Richie Grant. Also, when you flip that, look at another rookie. Look at Jalen Mayfield. Jalen Mayfield was not supposed to be in a position where he had to go right away, but you had other circumstances with other personnel. He had to get in there right away. And I'm almost certain that this is not the move for Arthur Smith in his philosophy. Unless if you got like some talent like a Kyle Pitts, you're not going to be going out there right away. Kyle Pitts was the only guy in that draft that was actually he was an anomaly. He was the one that, he was just too good. You're not going to be sitting here talking about bringing him up and building him up right away. He was already there, and it showed in his production. But with Jalen Mayfield, you kind of see how that went, and you see the opposite with that with Richie Grant. So, I think at the end of the day, we are looking at a player being developed the right way. This is one of the situations where Arthur Smith you see his plan being put together the way he wants to be within a player. Other players that you may want to look into, like an Ogundeji, you may want to look into Taquan Graham, also with Darren Hall, all these other rookies who came in, at the same time. And you also have to look at it and see, well, is the plan in the scheme or the track that he's trying to put these guys on, is it working properly? And I think with Richie Grant, knowing that we needed help in the secondary, watched Richie Grant under a microscope, and we thought that, okay, maybe this isn't working out. But when you read the room and you look at what Arthur Smith is saying, I feel like this is actually working out just the way they wanted to work out. And you really couldn't ask for more than that. At the end of the day, you really, to be honest with you, the NFL hasn't changed too much with this philosophy. You really don't want to put rookies out there like that too fast. Like I said, I don't want to go back and beat this dead horse, but then you have like a Jalen Mayfield effect. Even first rounders that go out there in some cases have those type of seasons where they're struggling because they're getting into something new. They're learning on the fly, or they're just, even though they did well in college, they're just not ready for the NFL. So I think not only with the last draft class that we had, with this one coming up, I think we have a lot of talent on this upcoming draft class. But I still feel that with all these guys that are coming in on 1-year deals that are veterans, don't be surprised that a handful of these guys that are coming in at this rookie class don't be out there making an impact right away unless they blow, everybody out of the water. I believe that Drake London and Ebiketie, those two guys, I think those guys are going to be on the field. Those are like the situation with Kyle Pitts. I think those guys are going to be contributing right away. Anderson, don't be surprised you don't see him right away. Probably see him more on special teams first, kind of like a Richie Grant situation. Deangelo Malone, same thing. You may see him a little bit more probably behind Lorenzo Carter. I would not be surprised. Tyler Algier, basically based on need, you may see him as a running back playing like the role of like a Kyle Pitts, playing right away, not necessarily playing tight end, but getting in there and playing right away like Kyle Pitts, playing right away, because not only that he's just that good, we actually need somebody to run the rock. Quadri Allison is fine, but sometimes he can be a little disappointing, but I think he's capable. But when you got a guy like Algier, I think he's going to be that guy that's probably going to be handling the ball right away. So, and like I said, with the other tight end, Fitzpatrick, he's another one. Schaefer, another lineman. Watch him to compete against Jalen Mayfield. Either way is a win-win, because it's either Jalen Mayfield's going to get better or you're going to have a guy to come in and contribute right away. So this draft class, once again, I talked about this before, is an excellent, excellent draft class. Probably one of the best in the league this year. I think we did really good with this draft class. But on the flip side of that, we also have to look back at the last draft class, and we can see how all this intertwined together, from the Kyle Pitts pick all the way to the Fitzpatrick pick in the this year's draft, and all those guys in between. Watch how these guys mesh together to form a better team. And you just throw in all the veterans that was already here. We may have a recipe to surprise a lot of people. I think Roddy White even said that himself, that he won't be surprised that Kyle Pitts and the rest of this team surprise a lot of people. I think this team, and I agree with him, I think this team is better than advertised. I think this team is a lot better than advertised. A lot of people talking about anywhere between 4 to 6 wins. I think 7 wins minimum. I think we could repeat what we did last year minimum. But we could talk about that when we get closer to the season. And also, I guess we could wrap this episode up because we pretty much covered everything. Shout out to the guys that signed Malone and Anderson. Shout out to AJ Terrell and Kyle Pitts. Top 25, under 25. That just goes to show you that we have a young team coming in, and we're going to continue to just get better. And that cap space next year is just going to be just much more enticing. And shout out to Richie Grant. He's going to, he's on the right track and he's going to get better. It's going to be good to see about what he does in year 2 because Coach Arthur Smith is looking at him to be a starter. Very, very interesting. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this commentary, share this podcast. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're over here, we talk about Atlanta Falcons and Georgia Southern football. All the links are down in the description if you want to find which avenue that works for you, whether it be visuals or YouTube and Rumble, or all the other podcast avenues if it's audio. You guys are great. I cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you guys for all the support. Subscribers, we are climbing. We're over 1130. I'm going to try to get to 1150, and it's all thanks to you guys. If you guys want to subscribe, it's up to you. You guys make this go. And I cannot thank you guys enough. Check out all the links once again down in the description, whether if you want to share, subscribe, or like. Also, if you want to donate, all that information is down in the description. All right, y'all. I will see you guys on Friday, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day. All right, guys. You take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.